live from New York. It's Ask an Engineer and Ask Massimo.
Massimo's an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2 engineers.
Partially,
2 engineers for the price of 1. Welcome to another fantastic Ask an Engineers. We're broadcasting live from the Adafruit headquarters. With us is special guest, Massimo Banzi.
Hi, everybody.
It's also me, Lady Ada, the engineer. You also have Phil on camera control. So it's a little crowded.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'll be off to the side a little bit. These are the real stars.
You want to make sure that we...
I just run the cameras now.
We see everybody. We've got a fantastic Arduino-filled show.
That's right.
We've got all sorts of cool stuff. We've got codes. We've got trivia questions.
Can we show them what's on the show tonight?
We have Arduinos.
Yeah. All right. Tonight's code is Arduino. 10% off everything in the Adafruit store that's in stock. Just use the code Arduino on checkout. And
including Arduinos.
Including Arduinos, that's right. We'll go over the show and tell some fantastic stuff in the world of makers sharing their cool projects. We will go down memory lane with Arduino. Massimo is here. We'll talk about maybe the first Arduino. We'll talk about what's coming out soon. All sorts of fun stuff. We'll ask him what his favorite Arduino is. Massimo will be at the Hardware Innovation Workshop and also at Maker Faire. We'll talk about that. If there's time, we'll go over the Adafruit Mailbag. Talk about some open source hardware, Adafruit Learning System, Time Travel Tuesday, Wearable Wednesday. We also have 3D Thursday with some neat stuff in the world of 3D. Some new products, possibly. We'll answer your question, we'll have a trivia question, and we'll show a picture of our cat, MOSFET. All that and more.
It's actually that picture, so
Ask an Engineer.
You can just skip. You can just skip that. It's the same. It's the same photo.
It's the same photo, but the thing is, parents, they have their kids watch the show, and we started when MOSFET lived in the Adafruit factory before we got to this place. So every week they want, Mom, Dad, where's the cat? So
I know the pressures of being
okay. So once
a
again,
factory cat.
As we mentioned, the code is Arduino, 10% off everything in the Adafruit store.
Not Duino, Arduino.
That's right. Yeah, we have a no Duino policy. It's our promise. The only one that it was Borduino when we asked, that was a million years ago. That was the grandfather one. But our promise. We will never call something Duino.
Christmas tree kits, Facebook links.
Yeah, There's
a third thing we promised.
We don't put all the social media buttons all over everything. We don't like that.
What was that other promise?
We won't put advertising on Adafruit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then there was one more that we recently came up with. No.
I think we said we might not take venture capital or something like that.
Yeah.
I know, right?
We keep making promises. I can't even keep track of it.
Yeah, but
we're not going to call something Duino.
We'll never call something Duino. Now, and it's recorded. You can't take it back.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's first start off. Show and tell happened. Was this one of the? This is the first time you've been on the Adafruit Show and Tell, right? Because the last time you were on the show, this didn't exist.
No, I think it existed, but I wasn't on camera during that segment.
Oh, okay.
I was.
You're off to the side. Well, I'm glad you were here. So, Lady Ada, tell us what was on the Show and Tell.
Show and Tell was fun. We had a couple of people show up, some repeats, some people came back, and some new projects. Tony showed up with a Raspberry Pi rice cooker watcher, and the cute thing about this was instead of trying to sense current or temperature or whatever, and determine whether it's on, he actually just put a photocell up to the warm light, which is the little on light.
That was a clever hack.
And it just tells you if it's on or not, which is actually a way easier way to detect if something's on. Yeah. And then he has a little mini website, and I guess he just wants to track his rice cooking, which is cool. Kevin showed off the e-paper badges that he designed for the Open Source Hardware Summit.
Photo booth.
And he made a photo booth using Raspberry Pi and this big red button, and it uses the Pi camera to take a photo, and hopefully he'll finish the code by next week, so get on that.
Yeah, no deadline.
Roberto,
pressure.
Roberto and his lovely assistant came back and showed their Press Your Luck clone called Press Your Button. They've been working on this for a couple months.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I think his young assistant was born after the show aired. John W. came back with more OLED watch updates. He showed off the watch, and they showed off these really great photos that he took. He was inspired by the photos that our John Engineer takes to take some artsy electronics photos.
Maybe it's a trend. Anyone named John who does electronics have to take artsy photos.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's true. And then Rick Winscott showed up again. He's been just on a bot fury. Yeah. He's just make all these bots. He made this adorable little Ada bot with an Arduino in its little belly and servos and its little head and little arms.
That's super cute.
And it's super cute.
had an Arduino in it and our servo shield.
Yeah, because it had to control like 8 servos.
Yeah.
And when you have that many servos, it's hard to do it without having a standalone driver. So we have this lovely servo shield, which is really popular.
Okay. And then Ben's going to come back next week.
Yeah, Ben had some project which was difficult too.
Yeah, he had a website and I think it wasn't loading or something like that. So everybody on the show and tell gets a as seen on the show and tell sticker.
Just like this.
That. Lady Ada, how do people get on the show and tell?
Getting on the show and tell is super awesome and fun, and you should join us. All the cool kids are doing it. Go to plus.google.com/+Adafruit. Find the thread where we say comment here to get added to the show and tell circle. We'll add you if you comment there, and then you'll get invited every week at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday. For now, maybe not forever, but for now, to show off your project.
All right, we're gonna just jump right in. Massimo's here, and I've known Massimo for years, and we'll start. You know, you can introduce yourself in a second, but it's always great to have you here because Arduino is like this is what started. You know, this is where what people know Adafruit for. They know that they can, anything in their imagination, they can put stuff together with an Arduino, all the accessories, the shields, the code.
We have 1,500 products, but I think the Arduino, which is like the core item, was number, not even 63. What ID is like 34 or something? It's
very
like
early on your products.
It's definitely a 2-digiter.
Yeah. I remember when
the starter pack is 65, so it must be before then.
When I was at Make, we were trying to figure out ways to wire money to Italy to get Arduinos. And then once that happened, then you were able to get Arduinos shortly after that too.
Yeah, we'd go down and we'd like wire money. It was cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are you sending this to some like Italian prince who promised you $36 million?" We're like, "No, the king is named Arduino, but that's just the bar, and they named the thing."
So, Massimo, who are you? What do you do? And why are you here?
Yeah, come up here.
Wow.
Come in. Welcome to our home.
Thank you. A set of difficult questions. Well, I'm the co-founder of Arduino, and so it started off as a project that I did for my students because I also teach in design schools. Now I teach just a little bit, not that much. And also over the years as Arduino developed, I became the CEO. So now I spend most
You're King Duino.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, the 5 founders of Arduino, including me, you know, we're still all active. You know, I'm the CEO, but everybody sort of helps.
Yeah.
And
actually, I have a photo. I might be the only one who has this. So this is a signed. I got all of you guys to sign. This is all the people on the Arduino team. They signed this.
Yes.
And then when you were at Adafruit, the other headquarters.
All right.
Yeah, we took a photo. So these are
all 5. Yeah, all 5.
Plus.
Shigeru.
Yeah,
he happened to be visiting.
Which is cool. He did an Arduino, so it counts. Yeah. He's like the Japanese branch.
And so, just to get started, someone had asked a question on Twitter, what inspired you to develop the very first Arduino? And and here's a photo of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a that was like a very rough prototype. Well, yeah, so I teach in these design schools, and specifically I teach in places where we do interaction design. This idea that, you know, when you're designing different objects, until you're designing tables and chairs, you know, there are certain things you need to do. But once you design things with technology and people interact with them, you have to be able to design the way people interact with technology. So the idea is that interaction design tries to capture the way you interact, the interaction that you have with these devices, and so one of the things that designers need to do in that particular context is to build prototypes. So you have this tension between the fact that a lot of people come to the school without knowing any electronics, for sure. Maybe they know a little bit of programming, but usually not. So you need to be able to teach them very quickly, maybe in a couple of months. You take them from 0 to programming and then doing electronics. So obviously, you know, I started teaching in this school in Italy in 2002, and we tried different things. So at the beginning, you know, like everybody else in the world, I copied what Tom Igo was doing at the ITP. So I looked at the way he was teaching, and I tried to sort of transfer a little bit of that. And we were using basic stamps, but they were like super expensive, especially in Italy because they were imported by a tiny company that was making like a huge markup. So
so they ordered like $40 here in America. I can't even imagine what they were.
Well, they costed like the equivalent of $100.
Yeah.
So obviously students wouldn't buy more than one, and when you had one, you kind of cherished
it.
And
if you broke it, that was it too.
And they broke easy.
They broke, yeah. So we also had some basic X24. They broke super easy. Like they would just die on us. But also they would run on Windows. You needed PC with serial ports. It's just a nightmare. So we did a number of experiments. I made a kind of platform that came before Arduino called the Programma 2003, which was PIC-based. But it was all open source, and it was running on Windows, Mac, and Linux, so it was the first kind of experiment in that direction. Then with Casey Rees, one of my colleagues in Ivrea, who was also like a teacher at UCLA and a kind of electronic artist.
He has a show opening actually in New York in a week.
Oh, wow.
You should, we
Cool.
can go hang out with him.
I totally need to go and say hello to him. And so we kind of were thesis advisor of this amazing guy called Hernando Barragan, who came up with wiring. And then after that, we decided to take the work that we did with wiring and make it, rebuild it completely and make it open source and make it run on smaller processors, something that you could build yourself. So that picture that you show, it's an attempt at making like a super simple version of wiring running on an Atmega 8. And something that you could build yourself. And this terrible PCB comes from this service that, you know, you could get your PCB made in 24 hours, but obviously it came without any sort of silk or anything. But it worked. I was able to connect that to the parallel port and kind of ISP the code on it. And there's like an LED somewhere. I think in the original picture there was an LED somewhere that I was able to blink. So we I started working with David Quartielles, who was at the school as a visiting researcher, was one of the founders of Arduino. And then we pulled in David Mellis, who was one of the students. He re-implemented the whole code in one night.
Wow.
So yeah, we were like doing all these projects with the students, and we needed to migrate away from the wiring board because we only had like 20 of them or something like that. So we needed to go smaller and simpler. So we decided to migrate the code. And Mellis, we told Mellis, well, how many days would it take for you to do this? Maybe a week or something. So he started hacking away at midnight, and at 2 o'clock he had the code re-implemented. So it was interesting. And so we started.
And really tired.
And and I had an old photo because I personally have an Arduino museum. I want to open up one in New York one day.
We can open one right here.
Yeah.
On this desk.
And so I have like the signed of all the team, and then I have some really old Arduinos, and then I have this photo. This was something that you made, right, Limor? And then this was one of the first Arduinos. Is this? I don't. This is.
So there's one thing to say that when I designed the first USB-based Arduino, I totally copied the circuit that the FTDI circuit comes from Limor.
Yeah, so that board is the FTDI breakout that I made in 2002.
Yeah.
At the Media Lab, and I made a bunch of these for all the Media Lab students because everybody at the Media Lab was like, the people were losing serial ports, but we still had to basically bootload or connect to. We had another microcontroller platform at the Media Lab that we were using, and so we had to basically, you know, the FTDI chip came out and was like, oh my god, this is so cool. So I made a bunch of these breakouts, also using this like low-cost service, and then I would cut them out by hand and solder them, and I sold them to people at the Media Lab for like $20.
And one of the things I wanted
now we have FTDI friend, but back then this is the best we had.
And one of the things I wanted to ask both of you, so you both were doing open source, and you were able to get some information, you were able to make stuff. So why not make Arduino closed source, like the basic stamp at the time?
Well, on one hand, we based Arduino on a lot of cool open source projects, and I think, you know, it would be really hypocritical to just make a platform which is based on these beautiful open source blocks, and then at the top you put your, like, you know, the icing is all proprietary. You know, that's stupid. Then also me and David and the others have been working with Linux for a long time, so we understood the power of having an open source platform where everybody can kind of contribute, and we also wanted something that people could build themselves if they needed to, because, you know, at the beginning there was no indication that Arduino was gonna, you know, take off the way it did, so we wanted people to be able to build it. Then after we did all of this, something else happened which kind of put sort of the last word on this whole open source thing. But, you know, we were already releasing everything, but then the school where I was teaching was actually being shut down, and it was ultimately owned by the Italian telecom company. And we were really worried that someday the lawyer was going to show up and say, okay, everything that's been done in the school goes into a drawer and we own it.
Because it's their intellectual property, maybe they want to sell it or do something, who knows?
So I had it made open source, but I never really got and I didn't really develop Arduino fully during my work time. I also developed it at night when David was running his karaoke competition in his room, between one karaoke competition and the other.
Yeah.
We worked on the Arduino, so I actually went to the process of getting the director of the school to say, this is, we approve this as open source. So it was also a way to protect Arduino from, lawyers kind of taking it away and say, becomes proprietary. So in the end, it confirmed that there was a big value, and it protects also the investment that people make into the platform.
Yeah. I think I'll ask some more questions later, but one of the things that I always talk about is Arduino is the most successful open source hardware platform.
Yeah,
there's nothing else. There's nothing else out there that's open source software and open source hardware.
And documentation.
And that it's the success story. I remember when people used to say, well, when will something be mass? Like, when will there be more than like 10,000 of these things, or 20,000, or 30,000, or 100,000, or a million? And it's really neat because every single time something happens with Arduino, you know that all the value comes along with it. You're going to learn something from it. There's code with it. And speaking of, because a lot of people are here to ask about this tonight, there's 2 new Arduino projects and products on the horizon. One is the Arduino Uno.
All right.
So we just did Arduino past. Now we're doing Arduino present and future.
Present happened, future, it's already the future.
There's the Uno, and then there's the Arduino Robot. Some people have seen these. So what is the Arduino Uno? Let's start with that.
Okay. So the Arduino Uno is this, we wanted to have a platform that would have Wi-Fi natively, and also would make it easier to build products that have Wi-Fi, but also connect to complex web services. Because the problem with a lot of simple Wi-Fi interface is that the Arduino itself, it's only like, 32K of flash memory and maybe a couple of kilobytes of RAM. You can't really, process a JSON file, and, you can, but it's really
difficult, yeah.
It's really like, So we looked at different technologies, and we kind of saw this, the electronics inside these access points, like the TP-Link access point, a lot of people use it.
Yeah, they're like $20 access points.
Yeah, it's like a one single chip Linux machine running at 400 megahertz with native Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and with like some flash and some RAM, you make it run. So then I bumped into this company that actually was making these modules based on that technology called Dog Hunter. So we started to work with them a little bit to figure out how we could combine. So the board has the shape of a regular Arduino, and it contains an Atmega 32U4, so it's the same as the Arduino Micro. But then it talks to the under the little sort of metal casing.
Let's go back to the other thing.
There's a Linux machine running at 400 megahertz.
So there's the Ethernet port,
yes.
USB port. Then there's right behind the USB port there is the Atmega.
Yep.
There's the little micro USB port kind of in the middle there.
Yes.
And then kind of with the sticker on it, that's a metal can that's covering electronics. So it's not just a piece of metal for jewelry. There's got electronics underneath it.
Yeah.
And it's just a shield it's protecting. So underneath there is a Linux computer.
Yeah, there's essentially a small access point.
Very teeny.
Because you can use this as an access point if you want to. But also the work that we did, which was
Can you hide us? Because
was a big task in a way.
And there's a little Wi-Fi antenna behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get the Wi-Fi antenna over there. Underneath you see, there's the single chip Linux machine, flash, RAM, and then underneath the board we have this particular chip, which is a USB hub that also implements a memory card reader. So the board itself has a micro SD card, and it has a USB port. So the idea is that if you plug a USB memory on one port, or you put a micro SD, the little small USB hub also provides the Linux machine with storage.
Yeah, okay.
So, and effectively, but I think also, when we work on products, we never just work on the hardware and just dump it on people, because that's not what we do. We also try to work on the software platform. So we did spend quite a lot of time building these software libraries where if you don't know anything about Linux, you can actually operate this whole thing all from the Arduino side. So the Arduino has a library that communicates with the Linux side. You can actually connect to the network and do a few things directly from the Arduino code. And this thing is also running a small web server. So for example, if you put files in a specific directory on a micro SD card and you plug it in, they get mounted under the root. This thing is running some processes written in Python. They do all this kind of connectivity to different services. And also we provide a lot of examples of how you connect to different services online. And also we looked a little bit at the user experience as well. So if you get the board and you press a button for more than 30 seconds, it will basically, this will turn into a Wi-Fi access point. You connect with your browser,
that's fun.
you set all the parameters through a web interface, and then you press the button and you configure the Wi-Fi on the board.
Oh, that's cool.
And
So,
then
yeah.
if you want, you can access the actual control panel of the Linux machine where you have like hundreds of settings. You can change the routing between the Wi-Fi and the
that's table.
Ethernet.
Can you
do all-
actually log in to? Can you like telnet into the
You
Linux
can
machine?
SSH into the
SSH in?
yeah,
Okay.
you
So if
can-
you really want to like do something
Yeah.
special.
This is-
And what's the communication protocols? SPI or I2C?
No, the Arduino and the Linux machine communicates through a serial connection at 200 and something kilobit, which in a way it's fast enough because in the end you're exchanging pretty small messages.
Yeah, so it's on the
between-
console. So the hardware serial port of the micro is connected to
Yes,
there.
it's connected to the console of the Linux machine.
Okay.
So one thing that's pretty cool in there is that we also work with a company based in New York called Tembu, and they do like pretty amazing service that gives you like a single point of access to over 200 and more than 200 APIs. So using their service, really you make calls to one of their services, and the service kind of has this thing they call choreos, which kind of go through different sequences of events on different services. So you can really kind of create complex applications, offloading some of the activity over to their servers, but using it's much simpler than
So-
I'm explaining.
So have you used the Yun for something?
Well,
You built something with it?
yeah, I built some small projects, but obviously I don't have a huge amount of time to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
You're
work on it.
running Arduino. You can't.
No, it's like what's the demo project that you guys are like?
Well,
This is
for
the best
example,
project. This is like the first
sensors
project
you
that
could
you.
do,
Yeah, but
like,
what? I
yeah.
mean,
Well, for example, I can tell you that the technology behind the Arduino Uno, we're actually using it in a European research project with a bunch of partners around Europe, where basically we're making appliances talk to each other. And so it's like all the appliances in your house are in a kind of a social network. So what David Quartiers is doing is actually hacking into a bunch of different appliances. So he's making like, toasters and different things that you can connect to and you can interact with. So, for example, one of the people that works for Arduino made it, because this thing also runs like a web server that has some REST API. So if you're doing some web app, you can actually talk to the board directly through a REST URL and make it do a lot of things. So he built this thing where you have an HTML5 interface on a web browser with different controls, and when you move the controls, you can actually visualize the data, a little bit like what we saw before at the show and tell. So to make it very simple for you to just put an HTML5 based application onto the SD card, you point your browser at it and then it talks to the board through this REST interface. So this kind of interfacing becomes very simple. So HTML5 becomes something that we are more and more interested in, and we want to provide more and more.
what's the chip that's actually underneath there?
It's called IR9331. It's an Atheros,
it's just an
Qualcomm Atheros. Actually,
How do you get them to sell it to you? Usually, it's difficult to get those.
So the interesting thing is that we used that one because effectively the community had been reverse engineering everything. And in order to get the data sheet, you have to sign like a complex NDA, or you can download it from a Chinese website.
Yeah.
And so we had the advantage that the community had attacked this architecture and figured it out completely.
Oh, cool.
So OpenWRT was fully supported and everything. Then the company we're working with had a distributor in Taiwan that was able to provide them the chips in the quantity they wanted.
But then is this made in Italy or is this made in
No,
Taiwan?
this one actually, the feature of this thing is that it's the first Arduino product that's made in Asia.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
made in Taiwan.
Because this is where you get the chips.
Yeah, also the company we're working with has an
Manufacturing.
office in, the headquarters are in Switzerland, and they have another office in Taiwan, and that's where they manage all the manufacturing and everything. Also, this thing has got Wi-Fi and Linux and everything on one single board there, which is something that we have really never done in this way. So you need a factory that has experience in doing these kind of things, and also, I don't know the exact details of the whole thing, but in order to certify and tweak and sort of tune the Wi-Fi, you need a special machine that's approved by Qualcomm, and it costs something like $50,000+. So you need machines like that in order to be able to tune the Wi-Fi and set all the parameters. So. Which is also one of the reasons why this kind of came out a little bit later than we expected, because
it's a very complex product.
Yeah, it's the usual kind of 80%/20% rule.
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to get to the point that the project
Getting the
is
first
running.
one's easy,
Yeah, but then making it ready for production adds so much, then the testing, producing like a testing rig where you can reprogram all the processors on it and test it and everything, which takes time.
So, a couple questions. So, we have ours on order. They're on their way.
Yeah.
It's happening soon. So they're getting released.
September.
10th of September. What's the do you know the USD price?
Yeah, I think the suggested retail price is $69.
Okay.
I think we're buying them for 60, so I don't know if we're going to have them for 69, but it'll be somewhere close.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close.
We didn't put the price on the site yet because we don't have.
We don't know because we didn't know with the exchange rate.
Yeah, there's a fluctuation in the exchange rate at the moment that's messing up a few things.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But,
within a couple of weeks,
They're
these will be in the
on
hands
order,
of people.
yeah.
The idea is that, clearly there are some Wi-Fi products that are cheaper because they're much, much simpler, but they require you to use some kind of an online service. The advantage with this guy is that you can actually connect to complex web services directly from the board. And I think that actually provides value for people that need to create this kind of application where they want to go to Facebook, do something, get some data, go to Foursquare, and then maybe tweet about it and do something else. You can do it all in Arduino from that.
It's just a trade-off. Like, for example, like electric imp is much lower power, but this is much more powerful. So it's just all trade-offs. Like some people want something that can run on the battery, and some things are like, well, I don't mind if you can plug it in, you can get so much more power and capability.
I like that it's a little embedded Linux computer, but for the folks who don't want to like mess around with Linux, which is like most people, you can stick to what you know, which is with Arduino, and just get started. So this is like where I personally think the Internet of Things is. Like, no matter what your skill level is, you can start doing stuff. So this is a cool product. Yeah. And speaking of cool products, there's one more that's coming soon that folks always want to know about. And we also have these on order. This is the Arduino Robot.
All right.
And this has made appearances at, I think, Maker Faire
and
other places. So what is this is the first Arduino that moves, right?
Yeah.
It can actually run away from you.
Yeah, so we wanted to make a robot for quite some time, something sort of that would work mostly maybe in the educational market. And then a few years ago, we met these two kids from Spain who participate in this competition called RoboCup, where they make these robots more or less in the same shape that play football, like soccer, you would call it over here, but it's football. So they would kind of two robots in each team play football, and the ball kind of emits infrared.
How can they grab the ball? It's round.
Oh, it doesn't grab the ball. So this thing is
like a soccer bot.
But if you on one side, there's you don't see it here. But on one side, the bottom board has got like some kind of a
little scoop, right?
Yeah, there's got like some.
It's got a little.
So in the
it
RoboCup thing, when the robot kind of gets in front of the ball, it has a big solenoid that kind of then kicks the ball. So it kind of grabs it like that and boom, kicks it. So the idea is that obviously this is not for that particular thing, but it was cool that these two kids, it's actually one boy and a girl. They started off when they were like 14 doing robots with Arduino, and then they developed the whole robot themselves. and they have their competition robot is running the equivalent of like 4 Arduino Mega in parallel, because they have all sorts of functions they need to deal with. But you know, it was interesting to work with them and say, you know, what have you learned in this process, and what you think we should put in a robot like this. So the idea, this thing came out with like 2 layers. Like there's a bottom layer, which is like controlling the motors and doing like the sort of more like basic activities of a robot. And then the top part has more sensors, and it's got another equivalent of an Arduino Leonardo that you can program that kind of tells the bottom part what to do. And then there's a bunch of connectors where you can add your own sensors. It's got some prototyping area we can sort. And then there's an LCD screen, which, you know, it's an extension of the LCD screen from Adafruit. And in fact, because of that, we took the Arduino the Adafruit graphical LCD library, and we made it into the official Arduino graphical LCD library for this. So
another neat example of open source working out.
And love.
So this looks like it's kind of more for like schools or something, you think?
I mean, it's also something that you can, you know, it's
for competition.
No, but also it's we noticed that, like, you know, we had like a test sale at Maker Faire in California, and, you know, parents would buy one because it comes with about 10, 15 examples, so you can get it and you can learn about it, and you can build different projects. And also, when you turn it on, the LCD screen has got a low user interface that tells you, you know, tell me your name, and you can customize your robot, and then you have a pre-made softwares on it. So if you just want to try out with a kid, you just take some, you know, electrical tape, you draw like a path on a white surface, and you put a robot on it, and it will follow the line. So you can try out the robot just like this without programming anything, and then slowly you can get into programming. So I think it's something that works if you want to work with a kid. It's something we've seen like parents want to buy because maybe the dad wants to kind of, you know, play with the kid and have something.
It's also, like you said, I think it's the first Arduino that in 15 minutes you can do something where sometimes there's a learning curve, even if you're like, Arduino is very easy to use, but this is like out of the box, a kid, parents together, and they're, you know, making little projects, and there's activities, and it's an Arduino that moves. So if you like Arduino, you want to do robotics.
So we spent quite a bit of time looking at all the sort of out-of-the-box experience and the packaging and everything else. So we're trying to get to the point where there are more Arduino products that you sort of take out of the box and they do something immediately, and then you can kind of dig in and figure things out.
So it's like not like, well, what do I do with this? It's like it's immediately obvious what you do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, these are great, and they'll be on display or for sale at Maker Faire New York.
Yes.
Right. They'll be in the Adafruit store. They're on their way. We just ordered them. So we'll see how it goes. Now, I know you like all the Arduinos, but do you have a favorite Arduino? Is there anyone that you like in particular?
It's hard to say.
Wow.
In a way,
it's like favorite children.
I know, I'm putting you on the spot.
It's very, you're putting me on the spot. I don't know. It's very.
If you don't want to answer, I can tell you my favorite one.
But in a way, I think to me there's one Arduino that I like, and I think it's still fairly misunderstood, which is the Arduino Leonardo, which I like a lot. It's very simple, it's got only one chip, and it's got a lot of these little features like pretending to be a keyboard or a mouse. So you can do like very cool things. And so, you know, people are still used to buy the Uno because it's what they see everywhere. But actually the Leonardo costs less and can do more in a way. So we're trying to figure out ways where we make it, one day we can kind of migrate away from the Uno.
Well, my favorite Arduino,
it's obviously the Micro.
Is the Micro. This is one of my favorite ones, and we have a cool project that we have that you could turn it into a keyboard. And we have the next keyboard project. So that is also 10% off in the Adafruit store, code Arduino. And while you're there, I just want to also thank Massimo while I was here. We got permission to make these really cool Arduino badges. And so when kids do workshops, when parents, when any type of educator does these Arduino workshops, and there's tons, they can give a badge at the end. In fact, I think you're at Stevens Institute very soon.
Yes, on the 11th of September.
And we know that because the instructors needed to get Arduinos very fast. And they said, "Is there anything you can do?" And we said, "We're going to give you Arduino badges for free. Please say hello to Massimo for us." So well, we knew we'd see you soon too. So okay, just a couple other housekeeping things. You're going to be at the Hardware Innovation Summit.
Yeah.
September 18th.
I'm speaking.
You're speaking.
I don't know about what, but
and then you're at Maker Faire.
Yeah.
And you're doing a 2:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. State of Arduino.
Classic, yes.
That's at Maker Faire. So
half hour.
Yeah, that's pretty big. So we're gonna hop around now. We're gonna do some of our normal show stuff. We'll ask you questions shortly, but we're gonna try to get through this stuff. So, couple quick things. Mailbag this week for Adafruit. This is Packet the Mailbag.
That's pretty
cute.
cute.
Isn't it cute? Yeah.
Aww.
So we get letters from customers and community all the time. This is from Chuck. Thanks for the quality components and wonderful circuit boards. They're well laid out with lots of labels. Thanks for getting sturdy packages to use for shipping. Thanks most for the step-by-step soldering instructions and for the great documentation and Arduino libraries. I did not plan that. That was just the one that we had on for this week.
We have almost 200 GitHub repos.
Yeah.
We're getting close. We're like 10 away from 200.
Yeah.
Excited.
Wow.
200 GitHub repos, 300 tutorials very soon. And
any day.
Yeah, it's been intense. Thousands of lines of code that you've been working on. We just celebrated 4 years of Ask an Engineer. We've been doing this 4 years. If you're a time traveler and want to mess with us or thank us, you can just go back in time on any Saturday night for the last 4 years. You know where we've been. Monday is Labor Day. Any packages will be going out on Tuesday.
Yep, post office, UPS, and everything is closed.
So don't forget, these are some cool old photos.
So Labor Day is a good day to build a project.
Yeah. Some news in the world of open source hardware. Becky Stern from Adafruit, Director of Wearable Electronics, will be at the Open Hardware Summit. Lamore and I will be there. You're going to be hanging around. Cool event. Check it out. Lots going on in the world of open source hardware. If you haven't got your tickets, I think there's still tickets. Do check it out. Adafruit Learning System, new tutorial this week. Also Arduino related. This is all good timing. NeoPixel.
The Uber guide.
Yeah. So, Massimo, have you seen our NeoPixels? All these little, we have shields and we have all these addressable LEDs. These are all
they're so popular. People
with Arduino, and they're really fun and artistic. The guide that we just put out shows everything how to use them.
All about it. We have like 10 different NeoPixel items. We have some we'll even show off today. And Phil B., who wrote the best library for NeoPixels, also will take you a guided journey, the world of NeoPixel, how they work, all the details, powering them, shapes, scaling, different processors.
So if you're into Arduino and you want to control a ton of LEDs, this is how you do it. The NeoPixel.
This is the easiest way to control a lot of LEDs.
Yeah, the NeoPixel library, and then pick up the pixels. Every week we do Time Travel Tuesday, but this week I wanted to do something a little different. So Time Travel Tuesday, I go back in time, so I'm getting old, so Hackaday and Gadget, Make. So there's like 10 years of Maker history. So what I've been trying to do is look back 3, 4, 5 years and see what all of us were doing in the Maker world. I mostly write this just for Lamore and for a few other people. I also like to look and see what I was doing like 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, what was I doing 5 years ago?
Well, here's some interesting things. So in 2002, this is 2012, sorry, last year, we had just released our fritzing library.
Oh yeah.
And also, Arduino just released the Wi-Fi shield, the Wi-Fi. Also, last year, Bunny received a EFF Pioneer Award for open source hardware.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. 2010, the Arduino Ethernet shield. 2000, I'm skipping around. 2011, my article, Why the Arduino Won and why it's here to stay. Still,
this is a lot of Arduino news.
Yeah, all in August.
All this week.
Yeah, August. Well, August. August was kind of a big month. And I have a question for Massimo because this is a post that I made. This wasn't in August, but I wanted to revisit this. So back in May 13th, 2011, I asked on Twitter how many Arduinos are out there in the wild, and you said about 300,000. How many Arduinos are out there now, do you think?
Well, if you
have like a big counter. This is ding 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 ding.
Yeah, I have it. It's in a Google Doc that I don't have access to. No, I think maybe a couple of months ago, we calculated that of all the different types of Arduino devices, we actually reached about 1 million now.
1 million. Okay, you heard it here, folks.
1
Yes, I
million
never really-
Arduinos.
Yeah, I had estimated that it would be sometime around now that we'd be sailing past the
Yeah, because it would double and then double again. So about 1 million.
Yeah, that's great.
Of the official ones.
Official,
The
and then
Chinese
unofficial.
copies.
Yeah, the derivatives, like who knows? It's probably
Derivatives, yeah.
more
But
than
derivative is a
millions.
different story. I'm talking about the counterfeit copies.
The counterfeit ones.
But
Yeah.
I'm saying altogether with like, I actually don't see that many counterfeits compared to like genuine ones. So I think altogether it's probably maybe 2 million, right?
Yeah. So it would be safe to say.
But like there's like
because
so many derivatives.
one of the problems is I still get asked from like students trying to do their thesis and everything, like how many Arduinos they want me to be a resource because I wrote this article a long time ago. Would it be safe for anyone to say there is definitely 1 million Arduinos in the wild now?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
1 million, great.
You heard it here first. I can
At some
I can
point,
send a link
at
to
some
this
point
now.
I will make an article for the blog with showing the graph.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I remember that graph.
There's some interesting points in there because there were some moments where the sales kind of started to jump, and they are related to specific events. So there's
Yeah. And then all the way back in 2007, this is when
boy.
you commemorated the 10,000 boards.
yeah.
Yeah, 2007.
I actually mentioned that the other day. I was being interviewed for a chapter on a book about makers, and actually I pointed out to that particular event where you wrote the article. We told you that we reached 10,000. You wrote the article on Make about that, and it was for us like, oh my God, 10,000.
Yeah.
And now if you make something in 10,000 pieces, like
You're like, what did we do wrong? Yeah.
It's like now that we have about almost 500 distributors, for us, when we make something, we have to make it at least in about 10,000 pieces because they just
to distribute them.
Boom, it goes.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so thank you for being part of the Time Travel Tuesday Arduino edition.
Yeah, that was
Thank you for
Arduino
the-
history.
Yeah. All right.
wow, the walk down memory lane.
Every Wednesday we do Wearable Wednesdays on the Adafruit site, so we have all the news that's fit to blog and wearable electronics. Becky Stern has her show that she does every week. We have another live show. Did you know this? We have a live show, Wearable Electronics with Becky Stern, every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Check out that awesome logo.
Yeah, that's a neat logo. This week, we showed the Firewalker shoes. And there's a really cool band in Williamsburg named Amanamaguchi. Anamanaguchi. I can't say that word. We have a learning guide, and here is the video.
Bill, you're looking so serious. Why don't you lighten up? It's easy to mod your sneakers to light up when you walk, and today we're going to show you how to add NeoPixel strip and a simple sensor that detects your steps with Flora, Adafruit's wearable electronics platform. For this project, we're using Velostat. What is that? Velostat is a material that becomes less resistive when pinched, so we'll be using it to make a basic sensor in the heel of the shoe that can detect each time you put your weight down. Just tape one piece of conductive thread to each side of a small piece of Velostat, forming a loop under the tape. Then pick up the tails with a needle and stitch them up the side of the shoe, connecting one to ground and the other to an analog input on the Flora board. Each time Flora sees the resistance of the Velostat drop, it knows...
Okay, and since we're tight on time tonight and we want to get to everything, here are the shoes. I was going to wear them and do a demo, but I don't think
I turned them on.
What?
Yeah,
so
you have to
see
press in the middle, not on the
Yeah,
middle.
so this uses Flora, and it has that little switch when you press it, through the Velostat.
Yeah.
And watch the full video and the tutorial. But I'll probably be wearing these at the Open Source Hardware Summit.
They're
So-
cool. Yeah, this is a good use of the
Yeah.
NeoPixels, Flora, and then a basic pressure sensor. The nice thing about the Velostat is because it's not an FSR, you can actually press it as much as you want. It won't break because it's just plastic that changes resistance. It's actually a perfect usage for shoe sensing.
Okay, 3D Thursday, just going to go over one thing real quick every Thursday, the news and 3D printing. The digitizer's coming from MakerBot. We'll have them in the store shortly. It's a digital scanner, and we'll be one of the first ones to have it. It is pretty neat. You can scan in physical things. We're coming up with some fun things to do and to scan, so it's in the store. All right, before we get on to new products, the code is Arduino, 10% off of everything in the Adafruit store. Lady Ada, let's get through these new products as
We
fast
have to
as we
go
can.
very fast.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's do it.
Go, go, go.
Yeah.
What are the new products for you this week?
Okay. First up, we have a new version, or a modified version of the inductive charging module. So we had these in 5 volts, and now we have them in 3 volts, and I can even show a little demo over here. So this is a 1 watt white LED. So this is a 3 volt, basically, LED, and it draws about 300 milliamps, and it's connected to this coil. And this coil is inductively coupled with this coil, so as it gets closer, more power is transferred. So you want to have it be kind of coaxial, and you can see as it gets closer, more power is transferred. So you can use this for, if you want to do a waterproof project and you want to power it or charge it through something, you can have plastic, wood, whatever, anything non-metallic in between these 2 coils. You know, the more current, closer it is, but you can have it up to 10 millimeters away or so, about a centimeter, and still get maybe 200 milliamps
So
out.
wireless charging, basically.
Wireless charging, DIY wireless charging.
Okay.
And this is the 3 volt version. So
Okay. Next up, this is a power supply. There are many like them, but this one is ours.
This one, we wanted to have a power supply that was bigger than our 2 amp power supply, but smaller than our 10 amp. It's FCC and UL certified. These are really, really nice chargers, power supplies. 5 volt, 4 amp. Really great for that time when you want less than 10, more than 2.
Yeah.
And the price is kind of nice too. It's 15 bucks.
Okay. I'm going to zoom through these really fast. These are buttons. Everybody loves these buttons.
Yeah, these
We've got
are
tons of them.
buttons that we have that are both momentary and latching. And they come in white and blue. So I'll show, this one is momentary, and then this one. So this is the white one. So it's got a nice white LED, and then I can unplug it from power. So you can see it's white when it's off. And they're panel mount, and they're pretty low cost. And the switch is separated from the button. So you can have the button turn on when the light, or the light turn on when the button's pressed, or vice versa, or whatever. And then we also have a locking version of the blue one. So let me get this blue one out and quickly swap these. 1 second. So this is the blue one, and the nice thing about this is it locks. So it's, you know, open, it's off, and when you press it, it turns on. So this is more like an on-off switch, whereas the momentary are, you know, you press to close. So 2 different types, blue and white.
Okay. Next up.
Oh, this is a FPC stick. It's a 0.5 millimeter one. I've been doing a lot of stuff with displays that use FPCs, a 0.5 millimeter pitch, and I developed this board actually for my use because I had to like connect to all these different displays and adapters and whatever. So I thought it'd be handy. It's just the circuit board. If you do surface mount and you're ever connecting to flexible circuits, this is kind of handy.
I like it when you release tools that you made for yourself, because I know if you're using it, it's very interesting to at least 2,000 people.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like a high-end prototyping SMT tool, but 0.5 millimeter pitch is so common, and the way I designed it, you can use any size up to 50 pins, so you can place multiple ones if you need to, and it's breadboard friendly, or you can just connect wires.
Okay, last up, I would say that this is kind of followed by Massimo. This is the star of the show. So, both very bright. This is our new line of NeoPixel strips. 144. It's too bright. Lady Ada, what's going on here? Like, this is just so bright. Look at this.
It's not only bright but very dense.
Yeah.
So there's 144 LEDs per meter. So it's more than twice as dense as the LED strip we had before, and it's on extra thick flex PCB. So we had the factory actually make it extra thick for us. It's 1 meter long, and it's 144 LEDs, and it's a lot of LEDs, and it's NeoPixel, so you only need 1 pin to control all of them. This is
and how are you
kind of
controlling it
standard
right
demo.
now?
Oh, with an Arduino.
An Arduino.
Using Phil B's awesome Arduino code that he wrote. So yeah, this is just like a super high density LEDs, and it comes in both black with white LEDs here.
Is that Adafruit black?
Adafruit black.
I think it is.
It's official Adafruit black. We've trademarked that. And also white PCB as well. So compared to the shoes that we have, the shoes are 60 LEDs per meter, and then you can see that these are twice as dense.
Yeah.
So these are pretty intense. They're more expensive because just there's so many damn LEDs, but you get 144 individually addressable, 24-bit color, ultra bright LEDs per meter. how can you go wrong? You can't go wrong.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super bright. Super dense.
Many of these, many of our LED products are on the Playa right now because
yeah,
a week before Burning Man, there's the Burning Man meltdowns.
There is the Burning
where
Man
people
meltdown.
are like, "Oh my God, I didn't buy enough stuff. Can you overnight it tomorrow? Can I show
have
up
this
at your house?"
project, and I told people I'd work. I came up with it the day after Burning Man ended, and then I put it off for 11.5 months, and
Yeah.
now I got to do it. I've been,
All right.
I've 5 years, so I've definitely
Okay.
done it myself.
Lady Ada, that was new products.
Okay,
You did it.
I had to go fast.
You went fast. Thank you. All right. So right now we're going to do questions. I'm going to get through them as fast as I can. Questions for Massimo. Questions for Lady Ada. You're going to be on speed round. So are you ready?
Speed
Can you
round.
do this? Someone asked before. It's going to take a second for the chat.
Wow, this strip is like warm.
Do you have a favorite Arduino derivative or Arduino compatible out there? Is there anything that you like?
Somebody who's done something cool.
That you're like, oh, that's clever.
Well, actually,
It's
never
hard.
thought about it. There's so many
There's
that
so
it's
many,
very
yeah.
difficult for me to. It's like when somebody asks me, "What's your favorite Arduino project?" Duh.
I know,
There's
that's
like
hard.
5,000.
Oh my God,
Yeah, that's
it's
hard.
like this.
Okay.
I think my favorite that isn't an Arduino is actually like the Teensy. I really like that.
Oh no,
That's
okay. The
kinda
things
cool.
I like a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cute because it's like the Teensy is like it's not an Arduino, but it's like kind of Arduino compatible, but it takes it in a different direction. And I kind of like that.
We like what Paul does. So.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay, good. Questions are now loading in. All right, Massimo, will there ever be an official Femtoduino or one that's small?
The Micro is pretty small.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think the thing about it is, well, the Nano is pretty small.
Yeah.
Nano's pretty small, but the
Well, now the Micro is.
The Micro is small,
taking
but,
over
but
the
the
Nano.
problem with the Femtoduino is it's not breadboard friendly,
Yeah.
and so that the Arduino, I feel like it's beginner friendly, and you guys trying to make it as easy as possible for beginners to get started, which means making sure it plugs into a breadboard, it comes with the headers attached.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Also,
that
like the Femtoduino is not something I want to manufacture. It just got too much emotions attached to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, can the LED strip be trimmed to shorter lengths, Lamar?
You can trim it. It does have little cut marks. If you look at the product page, there's a really clear photo. But it's just once you cut it, it's not super easy to solder to it. The pads are not as big as the 60 LED per meter because there's not a lot of space.
Okay. What's with the unpopulated, I see footprint on the Une. I guess there's a little unpopulated spot.
I think it's because it's QFN or QFP.
No, there's actually there's a set of pads around the chip because with supply you never know. Sometimes
Okay.
Gianluca says, "Oh, Atmel is not shipping this chip this month, so we have to find another
Gotcha.
place." So we have two.
The Leonardo
footprints.
is like that too, or the
Yeah.
SMD Arduino. It's
'Cause you never
either
know.
QFN or QFP depending on whatever's available.
Yeah, because sometimes product disappears, so you
Yeah.
have to kind of run around the world and find an alternative.
But the nice thing is that you have two options.
Next up, Massimo, how did you first get Arduinos into the world, and what would you say was the most significant approach getting Arduinos to makers around the world? Like when you were selling them, how did you get them out there?
When we started, there were no makers of cold makers.
Yeah.
Make didn't exist.
We were mostly working with students. So the advantages working with design students is the design students are usually pretty good at publishing their projects online and making them look really cool. So when people started making projects with Arduino and publishing them online, people said, "Oh wow, that's a cool project," and then they said, "What's this made with?" "Oh, it's made with Arduino." Okay, and then that sort of kicked off the first round of sort of the first viral sort of marketing of Arduino was that. Because a lot of projects you see online, they're made by people who are not into the aesthetics of products.
Yeah, they're just engineers. They're just like, oh, I got this thing working.
So you get a picture of a breadboard with a bunch of wires. That doesn't,
my
it's
favorite.
cool for another engineer, but not for everyday people. While designers, they tend to produce a beautiful object, shoot a nice video, have beautiful picture.
Yeah.
So when
It's
you
totally faked, but no, just kidding.
sometimes
It's photoshopped.
sometimes
Yeah.
it is, but they're good at it.
Yeah.
All right, moving around. There's a lot of questions. We're gonna try to get through them. We're gonna run a little bit late. Sorry about that, guys. Next up, do you have any advice for testing Arduino code before it's on the device? Are there any simulators or other tools?
So I know that there are simulators for Arduino. We don't like them because we think people should work on the real thing. That's just a philosophical thing that we don't like simulators or that kind of stuff. Also, it's never easy to simulate a full product. So
how are you going to connect sensors to it? You don't know inputs.
So I prefer like people working
physical computing.
Just use it. Just do it.
Okay. Next up.
That should be your motto.
Someone's only been to one place in Italy, Turin. Can Massimo tell us if the Arduino headquarters is near there? It would be neat if it was close. Is it?
So, well, no, it's funny, the Arduino headquarters, Arduino doesn't have one big office and that's
There's no Arduino tower yet?
No, we don't plan to make any massive building called Arduino. No. There's, in Torino we have an office, which is also a makerspace, and that's where if you want to go, you can actually show up and...
Makerspace, okay.
Yeah, it's a makerspace, so you can just go there and it's really fun. Then there is the Arduino, one of the factories that makes the most Arduinos is kind of like 40 minutes outside of Torino in a place called Ivrea, but that's not something you can visit.
It's a factory. Just like Adafruit, you can't go. Walk in.
We have photos. Thank you again for letting us tour that time. We put tons of photos up there. In fact, I have one little quick snippet because I didn't know how much time we're gonna have. This is when we were in the Arduino factory. This took place influenced us deciding to get ours. So this is where the Arduino is.
Wow, that looks just like my picking place.
Yeah.
I got the exact same same model. Works well.
Next up, if you could ask the community out there to make a killer project with the Yun, what type of thing would you like to see?
That's what I asked.
They're asking too.
Okay.
Well, really, I want to see some interesting projects. Obviously, this is designed for what people call the Internet of Things.
Yeah.
So it is designed so that you can interact with like complex sort of web services. So it'd be interesting to see what people can do, really creating like a device that can really tap into these online services and kind of cross the data and do some cool things with it. Okay. Because with the GPS, you can figure out where you are, and then you go to Foursquare and you can get data, and then you go to Facebook. Yeah. So it's a way that you can really cross different services using the. So I think those are the most interesting application where you can start really to use these online services, because the Yun allows you to do all of this without having to use some proprietary cloud somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Good answer.
Yeah, I do like that. I'm kind of always finicky about like, I have to use it with the service.
Next up, what do you think about the Atmega chips? The ATX Mega, chips.
We never really investigate them that too much, because I don't know. To me, on the surface, they seem really cool. They have a lot of features that are interesting, and actually.
You like the X Megas, right, Lydia?
Yeah, I mean, they're unusual. They're weird.
So what happens is that I've seen that Atmel is actually taking some of the cool feature of the X Megas and moving them to the new Cortex M0 Plus ARM processor they're making. So some of the features are kind of transferring over. But for us, I don't think there was never an incentive to kind of invest a lot of energy into kind of making an Arduino core for those products, because we wanted to explore the Atmega more. Okay. There's still a lot of Atmega products that we haven't really touched yet.
All right. Why are breadboards called breadboards? Like bread?
Because they're solderless breadboards. Actually, they're called solderless breadboards, and they're a solderless version of when people used to wire wrap on a breadboard. They would take a wooden plank and they would use nails and they would wire wrap on a breadboard.
Okay, that's the answer.
It was a board for bread.
Massimo, will there be a new version of the Arduino software when the Yun is out?
Yes.
Okay.
So there will be a version of 1.5.x, which also has this cool feature that allows you to, when you turn on the IDE, you click on the board menu, it scans the network looking for all the Yuns. The Yuns are using the Bonjour protocol from Apple, which also has different names depending on the
MDNS is the generic name.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so you can click on it and you can program your Yun over the Wi-Fi connection.
All right. Someone wants to know if they can root the Yun or hack it so they can run another version of Linux if they wanted to.
You can do whatever, because we provide the source code for the OpenWRT up to the last line of code. It's
just like the TP-Link routers. Yeah. You can do anything you can do with those cheap TP-Link routers.
So in the Arduino tradition, the day it goes live, every file is going to be there. You can do whatever.
But if you want a Wi-Fi router, you should probably just get a Wi-Fi router.
Okay. There's a request. Someone wants to know if are you planning any other Arduino robots, smaller ones, different ones?
Yeah, we are planning to probably make something smaller at some point, but not now. Now we just
Get this robot. I gotta robot your robot.
Take a break.
All right. I think we got through most of them.
Okay. What's 11?
Thank you. That was speed round.
Speed round.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you, of course, for being on the show. We're going to do a trivia question now.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to do a trivia question. And
how much does Massimo weigh? No.
That's something that's...
There's a carnival. There's the carnies that can guess.
Yeah.
That's a confidential information.
The answer is not Yoon.
Yeah. What are the rules, Lady Ada?
Rules are if you've won before, you can't enter again. One winner per hour lifetime. Me and Phil's. Yeah. What is the prize?
So the prize is going to be a Yun, but we don't have them
yet,
but we're going to save it. So
we'll save you a Yun, so when we get them, hopefully we'll send you.
So the first person...
We'll also just beat up Massimo. He probably has one in his pocket somewhere.
No, I don't think he has any.
No, okay.
They're very sought after. They're
sought after. We have a lot of people who want them.
So here's the trivia question. If you paid attention during the chat, Massimo mentioned the name of the company that they worked with on the Yun.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Ooh.
What is the name of the company that they teamed up with? Now, this is probably online somewhere too, right? If you search for Yun, and you could find who they collaborated with. And that's one of the things I like about Arduino is when they collaborate with different companies, we all celebrate each other because it's open source. It's crediting and saying, doing shout outs.
Yeah.
Hat tips.
Hat tips.
So let's see who gets it first. It's not Skynet. It's not Tribby. What is the name of the company? What would you say their role in this? Were they co-designers?
Hardware developers?
Manufacturing?
Yeah, well, you know, they actually developed their own custom version of OpenWRT. They call Linino. And they actually had been working on this AR9331 for a while before we...
AR9331, okay.
Yeah, so...
All right, nobody's got it yet. Apple is not the correct answer. Wayne Enterprises is not correct. British Petroleum. These are really... Oh, there you go. Dre 361224, Dog Hunter.
Dog Hunter.
That's correct.
Yeah, it was a very unique name, so that's why I thought that was a good trivia question. Yeah. All right.
Okay, you get a Yun.
Excellent. Email support@adafruit.com, and you will get a Yun. You'll get the first one that we take out of the box. It is yours. Dre 265 whatever 978.
Right.
Whatever it is. Okay. Special thanks to everybody from Adafruit who came out and the staff who came out into the chat. John Jr., Becky, George, I think a couple other people did. Thank you everyone at the show and tell. We're going to be here next week right after the Open Hardware Summit. We're coming back and then we're going to do a show.
We'll do a show.
And Massimo, it's always great to have you on the show. You've been on Ask an Engineer a couple times so far. Yeah, this is the third time. You're like, Saturday Night Live has a few co-hosts, the five timers, so like Alec Baldwin or something like that. So you're
well, he like lives down the street or something, right?
Amanda Wozniak has been on the show.
She's like 6 times.
The most, and
so she's the Justin Timberlake.
She's the Justin Timberlake of engineering, and then I think you're up there.
All right,
you're up there.
Cool.
So
I'm looking forward.
All right,
getting to the 5 timers.
Here's a picture of a cat for the kids that are waiting for the picture of the cat. Because if I don't show the picture of the cat, I get an email that says, "Why didn't you show a picture of the cat?"
Meow.
And with that,
the cat is a dog hunter.
Your moment of Zener.